Scarlett Blade. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Silent Night, Memoirs of a Royal Guard, Chapter 5. Pardon me, Princess, I asked for clarification. We would like to go out this afternoon and shop with our loyal subjects, she repeated. It was short notice and certainly against standard procedures. I quickly nodded and said, Princess, I'll need to run this by the captain. You'll be exposed and I need at least a second guard to come with me to ensure your safety. Princess Luna stood from her desk and asked, Surely thou does not think we would be in danger in Canterlot, Silent Night? Thou would not be enough security for us? She was right, of course, but we have procedures for this sort of thing. When the princesses go outside the walls, we plan for it. We set extra security, we cover our bases. She wanted to go out on the fly. I may be, Princess, but procedure as... Are we a prisoner in our own palace? She asked, cutting me off. No, Princess, I was just... Then let us away to quills and sofas, she said before tossing her saddlebags and making for the door. I hurried behind her, 1 pace left, 2 paces back. This was bad. She had made up her mind, and if I left her to follow procedure, she'd go alone. If I stayed, I'd break procedure. The princess was clearly in a hurry. She walked swiftly and purposefully through the palace, into the grounds, and out the gates. While I looked pleadingly at every other guard I passed, no pony left their post to help me. Gold-clad jerks. Once we were out in the streets, Princess Luna slowed down to a normal pace. She seemed glad to be outside. The citizens of Canterlot were less glad. As she passed, they bowed deeply and didn't move until the princess had gone by. I heard whispers, but thankfully she didn't notice them. The princess walked slowly by all the fancy stores, peering in the windows and admiring the wares. I kept my cool on the outside. I couldn't let any pony know that something was amiss. Confidence would do more to keep away would-be attackers than anything else. What do you think of this hat, Silent Night? The princess asked me as she looked in the window. Hats? Why did it have to be hats? I couldn't really see it from my position, but she had asked me to look, I thought. Oh, what the hey. I've probably already lost my job. Why not move closer to look? That is exactly what I did. It was a big hat, wide-brimmed and white. It had purple flowers on it, and in general looked like it could shelter several ponies. I think the flowers would be most suitable, Princess. You like purple, do you not? Thank you, stupid honest mouth, for not saying you thought the hat looked silly. It was a silly hat. We do, she said, but then turned and walked on her way. We think we might look silly in a hat so large. Silent Night, 1. Hats, 0. As you say, Princess, I said, and fell back into my position. We walked in silence until we reached the store she was looking for. Quills and sofas. It was a strange combination of items, and I thought couches and quills would have made more sense. The quills and sofa staff looked shocked when the Princess Luna came in. I followed along behind her and found that the store lived up to its name. It was nothing but sofa after sofa and aisles of quills, simple quills, fancy quills, and quills so large that I couldn't see a use for them. The manager approached and knelt down in front of Princess Luna. How may I help you, Princess? He asked. We are just browsing, she replied in the Royal Canterlot voice, and made her way to the quills. I followed along behind her. All of the customers and staff seemed too awestruck to move. All except one. At the back of the store was a pretty white-coated unicorn with a long blonde and pink mane. She had it done in somewhat of a braid, but it was too busy assessing her as a threat to notice what kind. She was staring at us and hugging a notebook to her chest. The look in her eye was a little weird and overly excited. I kept myself between her and the princess. Fan mares. Princess Luna browsed the various quills in silence. I estimate she picked up and looked at no less than 30 boxes. I'm still not sure if she was looking for something specific or just wasn't ready to return to the palace. After a time, she settled on 2 different boxes and levitated them to the counter. We would like to purchase these, the princess announced. The clerk stared at her with a mix of fear and indecision. "How much do we owe thee?" the princess asked. Still no answer. I walked up to the counter and lightly waved a hoof in front of the clerk. "How many bits?" I asked. That seemed to snap the stallion out of his stupor. I guess I'm less intimidating. 25, please." Princess Luna levitated the bits to the counter while the clerk bagged up the quills. He rang her up, and she took her purchase and settled it into her saddlebag. "Thank thou," she said, and we were on our way. Thankfully, it seemed like we were heading back toward the palace. "Silent Night?" she asked. "Yes, princess." "Dost thou think that pony was afraid of us, or of Nightmare Moon?" she asked. I thought on that moment, and then replied. I believe that some ponies were unaccustomed to having an alicorn shopping in their store. I am certain, if that occurred more often, they would not react as such. The princess nodded. That answer seemed to satisfy her. I wasn't the smartest thing I've ever said, however, as she replied, "Then we shall have to patron to their store more often." Great. More last-minute trips outside the palace without proper security. Oh well. That will probably be the next pony's problem. I doubted my career would survive the day. "Yes, princess." We walked the rest of the way to the palace in silence. It was drawing near the time for Princess Celestia to lower the sun, and Princess Luna would have her duties to attend to. It was immediately evident word had gotten out. When we crossed through the gate and into the grounds, I could hear some of the other royal guards talking quietly to each other as they stared. Once we were inside, as expected, Captain Shining Armor was waiting for us. Well, for me, really. The princess would probably be unaware. Tomorrow, there would be just a different guard working opposite of Iridescence. I hope I could at least remain her roommate. I would have been sad if we couldn't be. I was starting to understand some things. She and I were friends, not just partners. "Princess," Shining Armor said cordially with a bow. "Welcome back. Did you have a good trip into the town?" he asked with a smile. "Officers." She smiled back and gave a long nod. She genuinely seemed happy, and at that moment I was okay with losing my job. I forget sometimes that even though the princesses are alicorns, they're also ponies. Ponies who get lonely and have their feelings hurt. If quill shopping made Princess Luna happy, then by Celestia, we would go quill shopping. "We did, Captain. We found exactly what we were looking for, and more," she responded. "Perhaps next time we shall look at sofas." Shining Armor's smile brightened a bit, and he said, "I'm glad to hear that. That would be an excellent idea. I know your furniture is not something you selected. Keynes has expressed a concern to me that your space should seem more like your own." Princess Luna seemed to ponder that before nodding and saying, "We agree. Perhaps we will go look at sofas and other furniture. Thou hast my gratitude, Captain. If you will excuse us, we have duties to attend." The captain bowed again and said, "Of course, Princess." Then he looked at me. Here it comes, I thought. Although he didn't look particularly angry, angry wasn't professional, though, and you didn't need to be mad to relieve a guard of his duty. I broke procedure. It was a fact. He was just doing his job. I wasn't sure what to do. I was still on duty, so I fell in pace behind Princess Luna like I always did. The captain dropped into step close behind me. So close I was worried he was going to stumble over his hooves. He spoke very softly to me. "Went out alone?" "Yes, sir," I said, matching his volume, eyes forward and completely in step. Never let any pony shake your cool. "Anything to report?" he asked in a whisper. "One unicorn mare. Very excited to see Princess. Kept her distance, though," I explained softly. Shining Armor nodded. "Good work. Thinking quickly on your hooves?" "Good work? Seriously? Sir?" The princess wasn't going to take no for an answer. She needs to feel like she has some control. You stuck with her instead of trying to argue her down and let her go alone while you did your paperwork. That is keeping your eye on what is most important," he explained in a hushed tone. It gave me a lot of confidence. "Thank you, sir. I would never leave her side," I whispered back. He smiled and nodded. "I know." Then he paused and added, "You did break procedure, though." "Yes, sir. What else could I say? Rules are rules." Next week, the senior instructor of the Guard Academy has requested that I send him a Royal Guard to give a lecture to the trainees on making quick judgment calls. You're now that pony. I can't say for certain, but I swear it seemed like he enjoyed saying that. The captain smiled once more and immediately broke off before I could respond. He wants me to give a lecture. I think I would rather be relieved of duty, or executed. Either would be preferable. Officers. Well then, I hope you guys have had a wunderbar day. Peace off.